Welcome everybody to this week's lesson about the daily emotion that we are practicing. The theme of this week is Netzach. Netzach is the fourth emotion. It is the emotion of winning. Like we say, think, win-win. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen to the Hayom which was written by the Rebbe, and you'll see that how the Hayom of each day, that little passage of each day, is connected with the weekly theme. That's the intent. But there's also a daily practice and a weekly theme, and we're going to see that. And I'm going to share the screen. Okay, here we are. So this is the Hayom for the 7th of Iyar. So the theme would be the weekly theme is Netzach, winning, but the daily theme is kindness. So the question is, how is kindness connected with winning? So we already spoke about this last week, and let's do that again. In order to have a complete thing. Okay, when one unwraps himself in the talit gadol, the large talit, it is unnecessary to cover his head and face down to his mouth. This is indicated in the laws of tzitzit in the Siddur. It is our custom, however, to cover the eyes with the upper part of the talit. During the days of the Sefiras, it is customary to study Tractate Sota, 1 page each day, in addition to one's regular study sessions. Now, the question is, when we wrap the talit, it is our custom to, I'm just going to sit a little higher. It is our custom to wrap it like the Ishmaelites. Now, it says in the Gemara that Ishmaelites is, well, it says in Kabbalah that they are, that the Ishmaelites are the power of kindness. However, this kindness could be misguided, and they know that. And so, in other words, it could lead to inappropriate relationships. So what do? They cover everybody up. Now, we put on the talit. When we say the blessing, we cover up like a Ishmaelite. That is the mitzvah. The question is, why do we do that? Why do we remind ourselves every day? And what they do is they cover the mouth, like they cover the mouth of the women, and that subdues them like a metzora, a person who has leprosy. The reason for that is because they did gossip. So therefore, the part of the purification of the spiritual leper is covering the mouth with clothes, like the Ishmaelites do for the women, because it subdues their mouth. However, it says that we're covering the eyes because really you don't need to cover the mouth, because the problem is inappropriate relations. So cover the eyes. So every time we put on a talit and we cover the eyes when we say the blessing and we wrap ourselves at the Ishmaelite, we realize that the way we control how we win over our inappropriate desire to make the wrong connection with the wrong people, it's not a committed relationship, it's not a marriage. And so the way we do it is by covering our eyes. And then that's not enough. He says we have to study the Tractate Sota. Sota is a woman that she hid herself with another woman, because we're not supposed to be alone with people that we're not supposed to be having relationships with. So she did something wrong. We don't know if she was intimate with that person, and if she was drinking the sota water, she would blow up, and she would blow up if that happened. So when we study the Tractate of Sota, which has 50 pages, each day 1 page, it basically fills our head up with learning, especially learning about having appropriate relations. So it's not enough to cover the eyes. We actually have to fill our brains with Torah study, specifically Torah study that helps us in this area. So that's how kindness, how we win, how kindness is used to win over that trait. So it should be used for victory. Now, the next one is let's say the next day. So an emissary, so this one is focus, how Gvura, focus, leads to winning. An emissary is one with the sender. This concept, now think about this. Do we see a focus with the intent of winning? So let's read this. An emissary is one with his sender. This concept is similar to that of is similar to that of an angel acting as a divine emissary when he is actually called by God's name. If this is so with an angel, it is certainly true of the soul. In fact, with the soul, the quality of this oneness is of a higher order, as explained elsewhere. Now Hasidim are emissaries of the Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe. So if the Chassid actively discharges his mission, he is bound up with his Rebbe, bound up in his entire being. There walks a Chassid, there eats a Chassid, there sleeps a Chassid. So what I see over here is that a person is being focused, no matter what they do. If they're walking, they're eating, they're sleeping, he is a chassid. So he's focused in order to be an emissary, and he's going to win because he's a representative of God. He's a representative of the Rebbe. So we see a certain focus, and we have a confidence in that focus because he's representing the Rebbe. We see Gvura Sheba Netzach. Now the next one is the 9th of year. So this was going to be a certain balance in winning. So the behavior is balance, the goal is winning. Our teacher, the Baal Shem Tov, said, every single thing one sees or hears is an instruction for his conduct in the service of God. This is the idea of Avodah service, to comprehend and discern in all things a way in which to serve God. So do we see a balance of many things? That's what beauty is. Beauty is many things balanced together. We do see that because we're saying that everything one sees or hears is an instruction. Everything. So this is the idea of beauty. The beauty of everything is for what? For service, for winning. Winning means to spread divinity in the entire world. Next one. This one is the winning of winning. Netzach Sheva Netzach. So let's see this one. The action has to be winning and the intent has to be winning. It is a custom to dip a piece of bread for hamaitzi into salt 3 times, not to sprinkle the salt on the bread. What's that got to do with winning? So melach, if you count the numerical value of melach, it is 26, which is God's name times 3. And if you dip it 3 times, that will be God's name hinted 9 times. That means a complete picture of God's name. Also, the fact that salt is something bitter that like we're persevering through. Also, the fact that we're specific, being really specific of how we do things. We're not just being like an easy-go-lucky. That's not winning. Netzach is we are dipping. We are not sprinkling. This is the way we're doing it. Right? That's a sort of a victory mentality, Netzach mentality. Okay. Let's go to the, okay, so we have this victory mentality, and let's see if we see this further. At a festival meal on the 2nd day of Shavuot, the Tzemach Tzedek related as follows. At the festive meal on the 2nd day of Shavuot, my grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, said, at the festive meal on the 2nd day of Shavuot, my saintly master and teacher, the Maggid of Mezrich, said. So you see an attitude of winning, of victory, that we are following the lineage. Like when we say something, we're not just like, it's not like making it up. This is the Rebbe quoting the previous Rebbe, who's quoting the Tzemach Tzedek, who's quoting the Alter Rebbe, who's quoting the Maggid Mezrich. This is we see there's a whole lineage behind. That's an attitude of victory. There's a lineage, there's a whole lineage of generations behind this information that we're about to give you. Here it is. You shall count for yourselves. The word usafartem, you shall count, has the root of safirut. Okay, in English, sapphire. brilliance and brightness. Usfartem lachem, you shall sapphire for yourselves. Your lachem means you, yourselves, must be like a sapphire, must be bright. The Tzemach Tzedek continued his narrative. My grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, then leaned his head on his hands and sang the Nigun melody, the 4 stanzas, with a profound dveikut. In other words, really deep connection. The 4 stanzas are extremely famous. We don't sing it regularly. We only sing it on special occasions. When we do sing it, the soul of the Alter Rebbe comes and visits us. So therefore, we need to be prepared when we sing it. We have to actually prepare. We actually prepare and sing other songs before we sing the 4 stanzas, because the Alter Rebbe will come and visit. So afterwards, he raised his head and said the question in a questioning tone. And with what does one brighten the lachem? And without a pause, he continued in a tone of response. With the 7 complete weeks, more literally, 7 Sabbaths. So how do we sapphire? With 7 Sabbaths. That is through refining one's 7 emotional traits, each trait in turn to be sub-incorporated with all 7. The 7 attributes themselves are to become 7 Sabbaths. Sabbath needing no refinement. Isn't that interesting? So the weekly theme, this week's theme, the intent of winning does not need refinement. That's the weekly theme. What needs refinement is how do we express the intent of winning in a productive manner. So when it comes to inappropriate relations, he says that's what we need to. Every morning we remind ourselves we need to cover our eyes. We need to fill our heads with Torah study, the right Torah study that will help us stay away from inappropriate relations. That's chesed, kindness, being used in a way that's going to be enduring. Netzach, it means enduring. It means victory. It means it's going to stay. It's also fun because fun things can go on forever, right? The second one was Gvura, focus. The refinement is recognizing that we are a messenger. Our soul is a messenger of God more than the angels. And that means we need to be focused on this. Whatever, if we're sleeping, we're always messengers. We're always on duty. That's the focus of winning. The third one is beauty. Everything one sees and hears is a lesson in service. Great. Beauty. Everything one hears and sees is a lesson in service. Okay, now winning. The weekly theme does not need to refine. The daily theme, what you do every day, that needs refinement. And when you have it all together, that is the ultimate, you become a sapphire, right? So that you have the daily victories become that great victory. So they become eternal. Those daily victories that we do every day, today is another day. It's not, we don't have to think about tomorrow. We don't have to think about the weekly theme. What we need to focus on is today's behavior. Is today's behavior of victory with the intent of succeeding and being victorious? That brings to the ultimate victory, to the sapphire, making our soul shine. Let's go to the next one. Hoid. Now, Hoid, it's a little cryptic. Let's see. What is Hoid? Hoid is the recognition of truth. Because when I have a discussion with somebody and I recognize he's right, so I say, "Ani modelacha, I think you're right." Right? I put aside my pride, and I'm, like there's a saying: listen first to understand, and then let you make yourself understood. Yeah, the 7 habits of highly effective people, they actually follow the 7 spheres. So listen first to understand, then make yourself understood is actually the 5th. It is the 5th habit. So it's like hoid. Hoid is the idea of recognizing something else. There's also being grateful. Gratitude is also part of hoid because I'm recognizing truth. So we say, I have gratitude to you, God, that that I woke up this morning. Right? That's the first thing we say when we get up in the morning. And you know, hoid is also majesty. Why is it majesty? Because sometimes I recognize that I'm right. I'm not a yes man. It's when somebody's right. If I'm right, I'm going to stick up for that. So that's majesty. I'm ready to stick up for that. So what does it read? How does the Hayamim go? Reading inside. The following are the correct readings in the Siddur. V'chein shnei chesuvim, with a tzei vowel, not a pasach. So instead of v'chantz shnei chesuvim, needs to be v'chein shnei chesuvim. When two biblical passages, and so too. Okay, next one. So it's just telling us the voweling and how do we read certain words. Chiyisani or chiyitani miyar diver, with a comet vowel, not a patach. Not chiyisani, it's chiyisoni. You kept me alive. Is that, do you see a theme of recognizing? I don't know, maybe. Zecher Rav Tuvcha, next one, Zecher Rav Tuvcha, with a segel vowel, not a tzeret, not Zecher, but Zecher. And they will express remembrance. Next one, Mashlich Karchei, Chefitzim. Mashlich Karchei, not Korchei, Karchei. No. It's a comet. Mashlich Karchei. That's the correct way. Not Karchei, but Karchei. With the ah. He hurls his eyes like morsels. And the last one is not a vowel. It's just the certain way we say a part of the prayer. Kayemet. And his sovereignty and his truth will abide forever. So a friend of mine, a teacher of mine said, well, the idea of, recognition in order to be victorious means that you need to follow instructions and just follow orders, and details matter. So this is the attention to detail, Hayem. If you want to recognize in order to win, you have to have attention to detail. How you say the words, with which vowel you say the words in prayers matters. And that's how you win, when you follow instructions. But also the theme of the last one, and his sovereignty and his truth abide forever. That is the idea of, well, you have forever, right? And there's sovereignty and emunase, truth. So we're recognizing sovereignty and truth, and they are lenetzach, forever. So maybe that in this one, we very much see the theme of recognition for the purpose of victory. Let's go to the next one. Next one's also cryptic a little bit, but the theme of the 12th of year is attachment. Yesod is attachment for the purpose of winning. And attachment lasts forever. So the Hayim goes, the following are the correct readings in the Siddur. Menu ma'amar, with a comet vowel. Menu ma'amor. That's the way it's supposed to be seen. Kayem ne'emar, with a patach. Not ne'emar, but ne'emar. So it's menu ma'amor. Kayem ne'emar. To us application. And there it is said. Okay, next one. Zachur hi'afar nachnu, with a mulfum vowel. So it's zachur. He's mindful and we are but dust. Okay, next one. Una taltani, with a patach, and he lifted me up. Lift mine with and shva and a patach. So una tal le tani. Not una tal toni, una tal tani. Okay. And the last one, and here we see the theme of of attachment and relationship. So it says, "Va'avascha le'sasur, v'loy al tasir." So we're not doing vows now. We're just saying what we're supposed to say. Your love, you will not. Your love will never depart. Now, I think the difference is that when you say "Va'avascha le'sasur," it's more like saying that your love will never depart. And the other way that he's saying not to say, "V'loy al tasir," do not depart. Do not take away your love. So that means there's a possibility of taking away the love. But if we say, "Va'avascha le'sasur," your love will never depart from us, so we're saying that the attachment is forever. So that's netzach, victory, winning forever, attachment forever. So if we go back to the previous one, which was Hod, recognition, the last one is Malchus v'munasal ad kayemes, his sovereignty and his truth abide forever. I'm recognize his sovereignty and truth, and they're lenetzach, and they're forever. And for the Sefira of Yesod Shemenetzach, which means attachment for the purpose of victory, we say your love will never depart. Attachment will never depart. It will be forever. So we see that theme in those words. Now, we get to last night's Hayom Yom, and we want to see Malchus, and Malchus is in the Kabbalistic sense, it's the power of speech, but it's also the receiver, because our power of speech is a receiver from our brains. So it represents, in the relationship of the people and God, it represents the people because we're the receiver. So we say Mincha Tachnun is said. Now the Alter Rebbe once said during those years that because tomorrow is Pesach Sheni, we eat matzah during the day, right, and at night, right. The Alter Rebbe once said during those years that he will say short Maimarim, that where those years that he would say short Maimarim, know what is above you. Know, now what does that mean? He gave an explanation. Know that everything above in the supernal Sefirot and the Partzufim, divine emanations and configurations, all derive from you. It all depends on a man's service. In other words, we can change spirituality above depending on how we behave, because whatever happens in the higher Sefirot, it mirrors our behavior. So that means the Malchus, we, the receiver, have the power to have netzach, victory. We are able to prevail. And that is the theme of last night. We are able to prevail. Now, if we go to the next one, to Pesach Sheni, where the weekly theme becomes recognition, and the daily, we recognize something higher than us, and the daily theme, the daily practice of that day is kindness. So he says like this: the theme of Pesach Sheni, of the second Pesach, is that it is never too late. It is always possible to put things right, even if one is tamei, ritually impure, and one was far away. And even in a case of lachem, when this impurity was deliberate, nevertheless he can correct it. He can correct it. It means the kindness, recognize the kindness that God has given us, the opportunity to correct things. So that's Hod, the recognition that there's something higher than us. And he's given us kindness so that we can always have a second chance. We can always correct things. Never give up. Chesed Shabahod. Right? The next one after that would be the focus of Hod. What would that be? This one I didn't even think about. I'm just going to mention. In the days of the Alter Rebbe, the Hasidim had a familiar saying, One piece of bread, I actually did think about this. One piece of bread that I have is yours just as it is mine. And they would say the words yours first. Yours just as it is mine. So there's a recognition of money, how money is not really mine. It's really God's, and I'm basically the bank account keeper. And therefore, I want to recognize that if I'm just a holder of God's bank account, that means that we're all equal, and even though there's the idea of ownership, nevertheless, I'm able to recognize the truth and be focused and be able to be focused within myself and be strong within myself and say the truth, recognize the truth, express the truth that the bread that I have is yours just as it is mine. Like many people in the camps would save their bread and the portion and share it with others if they were sick, because they will not be able to live if a sick person doesn't get some extra bread.